All right, friends, today we're going to be working on rounding to the thousands place. So when we are taking the number, we're going to identify what number is in the thousands place, and we're going to round to that place. So the first thing we're going to do is start by counting by 1,000. So if we're counting by 1,000, we can start at 0. What would come next? 1,000. 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, and after 9 comes 10, so 10,000. Okay, so since we're rounding to the thousands place, our answers have to be whole thousands. Okay, we can't have numbers in the hundreds, tens, or ones because we're trying to figure out the closest thousand. So we're going to start with the number 2,374, and we're going to round that to the thousands place. So first we have to identify what number is in the thousands place. So I'm just going to quick put the HTO chart above my number. HTO, hundreds, tens, ones, 1,000s. So I see that the digit 2 is in the thousands place. So I'm looking at this as the thousands, just the thousands. So what thousands would this number be in between? Well, I know because it starts with a 2,000, I know that 2,000 is possibly one of the numbers that 2,374 is in between. So I'm going to come here and I see, okay, well, there's 2,000. What's the next 1,000 when I'm counting by thousands? 2,000, 3,000. And I'm going to double check. Is 2,374 in between, somewhere in between 2,000 and 3,000? And it is. So I'm set up to start my rounding. So we're going to have to count by something in the number line, okay, to figure out where this number goes exactly. So it wouldn't really make sense for me to count by ones because I'm going to have to put 1,000 little hash marks in between if I count by ones. If I count by tens, I'm going to have to put 100 little hash marks. So I'm going to go to the next place and I'm going to count by hundreds. So we'd have 2,100. Oops, and I wanted to do that in a different color. And you'll see why in a minute. 2,100. 2,200. 2,300. 2,400. 2,500. 2,600. 2,700. 2,800. 2,900. Notice that I switched between red and green at a certain point. Okay, so this point that I switched was the halfway point, which is 2,500. 2,500 is exactly halfway between 2,000 and 3,000. So when you get to the halfway point, you're going to round up. Below the halfway point, you round back to the nearest 1,000. So now my next step is to figure out, okay, well, I know these all start with 2,000. So really 374. Where would 374 go on my number line? Well, here's 100, 200, 300. So it's somewhere in between 300 and 400. And it's probably actually going to be closer to 400 because it's 374. So now I'm looking to see, what is this closest to? Is this closer to 2,000 or closer to 3,000? So looking at how far it would take to get back, there's about 3/4 of a hop, 1 3/4 hop, 2 3/4 hop, 3 3/4 hop. But if I go the other way, 1/4 hop, 1 1/4 hop, 2 1/4 hop, 3 1/4 hop, 4 1/4 hop, 5 1/4 hop, 6 1/4 hop. It took me more jumps to go this way than it did to go this way. So 2,374 rounds to 2,000. Okay, we're going to try one more. Find my paper towel. We're going to keep our counting by 1,000 because we're still going to be rounding to the nearest 1,000. Okay, because that's what we're focused on right now. I'll erase this. Oh, that does not erase very well. Okay, and here we go. So let's use the number 4,851. So the first thing we have to figure out is if I'm rounding to the thousands place.
Time pass 801 is been dismissed. 801 has been dismissed.
What thousands is 4,851 in between? So I see, I'm gonna again do my little HTO to figure out my thousands spot. So I'm gonna look and see over at my list, what is 4,000 in between? Well, it's not in between 0 and 1,000. Not in between 1,000, 2,000, 2,000, 3,000, 3,000. Oh, there's a 4,000. But this number is bigger than 4,000. So it's gonna come in between here. So I'm gonna put 4,000 on one end of my, 4,000 on one end of my number line and 5,000 on the other. And what's going to make the most sense for us to count by? And I'll put the middle point here. This is where it goes up or it goes back to 4,000. So what would be the best to count by? I can't count by thousands because I've already counted 4,000, 5,000. So the next biggest thing I can count by is hundreds. So I'm going to count by hundreds. And I'm going to go ahead and put all my little dashes on. And then I'll label. So really thinking about it, 4,000 counting by hundreds. 4,100, 4,200, 4,300, 4,400, 4,500, 4,600, 4,700, 4,800, 4,900. And now we have to figure out, what is this? Where does 4,851 go? Well, I see that all of them have 4,000s. So I'm looking for, where can I put 851? So looking at my hundreds, 851, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800. So it's going to be more than 800, but less than 900. So now I'm looking to see, what is this closest to? Okay, and so I'm looking to see, is it closer for me to go back to 4,000 or to go up to 5,000? And with the number line, we can kind of see that it's only like a half there, 1/2 of a jump, and then one whole jump. But to go the other way, a half a jump, a whole, 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, 8.5. So it's a long way to jump back to get to 4,000. So when we're rounding, we're really finding, what is it closest to? So 4,851 is closest to 5,000. Okay, now boys and girls, I want you to think about, if we're rounding to the thousands place, which digit is the one that's really responsible for the rounding? Is the 1,000 the place that tells you which direction to go? Or is it the place next door, the hundreds place, that's telling you where to go? So I want you to pause and think about that for a minute. Which place does the rounding? Well, hopefully you saw that since these were all 4,000s, the 4,000 really isn't the one responsible for the rounding. It's the number that's next to it, the next smallest place. Okay? The next smallest place is the person's that's figuring out where it is on the number line. So let me say that a different way. If I'm rounding to the thousands, the hundreds is what you're putting on the number line. I put on 851 in between 800 and 900. So the hundreds was telling me where to place this on the number line. And then to round, you're figuring out, okay, well, is it closer to this end or this end? So because this is what I'm putting on the number line, this is what's really responsible for deciding, is it close to this end or is it close to this end? Okay. Now there are a couple examples I want you to try rounding to the nearest 1,000. So you're going to round all of these numbers to the nearest 1,000, and then your teacher is going to check that when you go to group with her. Okay, so we should see on your paper or on your journal your numbers counting by 1,000 and the number line where you've done your rounding. Okay, so 3 things in your journal. The numbers that we're going to write down, numbers 1, 2, and 3, counting by 1,000, and a number line for each of these. So this number is going to be 7,248, 1,752, and then I'm going to throw a real tricky one in, 9,547. If you have trouble with that one, don't worry, your teacher will help you, because that is a tricky one. And if you finish early, I'll give you one other bonus one, 6,097. Okay? All right, so get to work, and when it's your time to come to group, make sure you bring this work with you.